to my channel. I'm Liam, 2402. Pretty half happy, half I moved up in the ranks, 365, moved up to 9.4, survived going out to the five figures, which I'm half happy about. But with having a complete team, a lot of teams with injuries, people in isolation, I thought I could take advantage of this week. And there was just a few too many disappointing scores for me to benefit from that. Premiums behaving like rookies, or even worse than rookies. But I had a few outstanding scorers, which saved the week a bit. It's not too shabby, but here to see the damage that occurred. But just starting off, this defence is pretty solid. Rory Laird, 178, he was unstoppable. He's had 33 disposals, I think, in 10 of his last 11 games. Absolute jet. Become an interesting call next year whether we pick him up as a straight mid, because he's performing like one. He's just a lock at D1, no complaints, but everyone has him, so he just bumped up the scoring for this week, along with Tommy Stewart, Jordan Ridley, play very similar roles. Ridley finally has more of that kick-out role, not playing as much on a key forward as much, like Stewart, intercept, loose man sort of role, back to form. They're probably two defenders you want finishing your year, and I'm lucky to have them. Short, luckily got to 89 in the end, because due to scaling, he had to score, have a fair bit of the ball in that second half to get there. But without Hooley, he's picked up his game a little bit, and he's a solid pick to have at the back end. He is fairly popularly owned as well. Salem was a bit disappointing with a 64. Whitfield, insane, 146. Just absolutely racked it up. Made up for not playing last week, and he's a little bit more of a pod in defence with his injury at the start of the season. And I've only picked him up. He wasn't in the greatest of form. Hadn't put out a monster score as of yet. So at D6, 146, I'm very pleased. And Bianco scored a solid 62 as cover on the bench. Defence, pretty happy days other than Salem, but what can you do? It was tough conditions for a high disposal defender. McRae, insane, 146. Finally picked the captain right. He and Bontempelli against the D's absolutely dominated. Bontempelli with 136. That's another 3 votes. Just racks it up. He's has a lot of clangers these days. But he has these patches where he scores 30, 40 points in about 5-10 minutes and makes what looks like going to be a 100 score to a 130 score. He missed out on those in the last few weeks, but did it this week. And matching him also in the same game, Clayton Oliver with 144. This is a good game to watch. That's 3 players, 560 between the 3 of them. Certainly helps the score. Tommy Mitchell, 111. Disappointing, he was on 100 at 3/4 time. Brought him in this week, but I feel like he's a solid option. Merritt, disappointing in that final game. None of the Essendon players. Parrish struggled as well. 71, a bit disappointing. When others are firing, Cunnington got to 97. He didn't play the last 10 minutes of that game because North was so far ahead. Just resting him, but he absolutely dominated. He was on 80 odd at half time. Just didn't get near it in the second. Was he on 80? No, maybe 60 odd. He was about 90 on at 3/4 time, but when the game was over, he just didn't do anything. Let the young ones play in the middle, but what can you do? He was solid. And then you talk to these two. Two of my worst picks ever. Oh, Crouch is my worst ever trade in Supercoach history. I had the option of Simpkin, who's averaging about 105 in his last 5. I think Crouch he's had 1 ton, and now he's had a 30. And it's now at times that I'm going to have to loop him with Durham. He and Taranto combined only just got past Durham 73. It's just shocking. Taranto's disposal efficiency is just horrendous. He's not going to get over 100, even if he gets 30 touches. Have to ride them out for the rest of the year. Grundy also disappointing, but help me. Play McRae as captain. Is very popularly owned, so he and Gawn score doesn't have much influence. Gawn was impressive with 125, another one from that game. Impressive. Reeves 79, pretty solid cover on the bench. Now it's like you nearly hope. I don't want to be greedy, but hope for a little injury from Grundy and Gawn because some people do not have cover in that region. But I don't want to be too mean to others. They've had heaps to deal with. But another strong performer, Paddy Dangerfield, picked him up at the perfect time, 165. I thought he was definitely a captain option this week, but McRae was the safer pick. It just absolutely dominated. Richmond looked awful. And again, he's probably less owned than he would have been if he didn't have that injury throughout the season. So certainly helping me gain a few ranks. Hall, again, is amazing. He's going to be probably the most owned defender next year. He still hasn't got average over 100 because of his start this season and one or two poor games, but he's just a ball magnet. Even when the ball wasn't down there a lot of the time, he still racks it up. 124, very impressive. Zeeble dropped off a little bit as of late, but still a solid 89. Can't complain with that. Tagoe 80, yeah, just couldn't find his hands on the ball early. Found it a lot late when scaling was all but done. And now these two, far out. Look at my score, 2,400, and I've had an M7, an M8, an F5, an F6, all score under 53. Kennedy 46. This was one of the worst trade-ins ever. Ideally, in hindsight, Thomas would have been 100 points better, but yeah, hopefully bounce back. He just played the worst role. He just got with Mackay out. He got pushed at full forward. He played full forward for 60% of the game. Wasn't surprised he scored 46. Hopefully that role just changes. And same with Bolton. Had a lot of centre bounces, but after every centre bounce, he just got pushed to full forward. And when the ball's not going down there, it's hard to score. And then Brockman only scored 27 in as cover, but they have decent job security. They'll keep on playing, but it's just disappointing when they're scoring rookie scores. And my team's complete. It could have been a massive one if those four behaved themselves. But what can you do? It's been a tough year. It's better than a donut, at least. We just move on, trying not to... trying to stay in the top 10,000 is probably the goal for the rest of the year. But my team is pretty solid other than probably Crouch and Taranto. Bolton and Kennedy, no forwards have really stood up. Hawkins was pretty dominant. But what can you do? I take the positives. Whitfield, McRae, Bontempelli, Oliver, Dangerfield, Hall. It's one of those years. But hope you all had a decent week. Hopefully you matched me or did better than me. Thankfully there was no injuries as of note, so with no trades left, I can go on to the next week and move along. So till tomorrow or Wednesday, I'll give a quick trade talk video. There's not much really to be talked about anymore with me not having any trades, but some of you might have a couple. and I might give you some handy little tips for then. But till then, have a good one.